And why I love real estate as an investment vehicle, because regardless of ups and downs with the market, and your second question a few minutes ago is, will there be another downturn? There's always downturns, whether you're talking about in real estate, the stock market, health. We're in a health downturn right now with the pandemic. There's always downturns. What will determine how what happens to you in that downturn, I'm a large believer in, is whether you see it as a detriment or you look for opportunities in the downturn.
So let me ask you this. Let me be a bit of a contrarian, like you know that I am. And thinking about, so we're having this conversation in Plainfield, Illinois. And we're having this conversation as middle-class Americans. What if I am on a spectrum? Let's go back to pre-$40,000 a year, Marcus and Keisha, and trying to have this conversation to them when they're struggling to keep the cable on and get a play set for the kids, or just like thinking about people who aren't, I feel like a lot of the conversations that we have are geared toward the middle class, and yet we eliminate an entire class of people. Does real estate truly exist for them? Is investing for them? If I'm struggling to pay for the COVID bill, if I'm struggling to pay for the funeral that I just had, if I'm struggling to make ends meet.
No, that's real talk, and that's actually a great perspective, because I think we don't talk about that because we do live in our bubble, and what I shared with a lot of my friends and colleagues when we were in the middle of dealing with the frustrations of COVID was like, okay, we're out here in the suburbs where, there's space between me and my neighbor. You and I know we worked from the patio for a good portion of the summer. That's a privilege. However, I am not too far removed being a young man from the south side of Chicago.
78th and Kingston, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 79th. And shout out to the south side, because also when I say that, again, we put things in buckets. So we think of south side, crime, poor. No, there's a lot of prosperity. There are a lot of smart people on this road. So tell them your okay. Like, you've been watching a lot, and and by virtue of you watching, I have to watch. Just talking about like By the Hood. So we call it the hood, but guess what? The hood has worth. I think it's a gold mine, and it's not even a term that I coined, but because I'm a sponge when it comes to education, and one of my I call superpowers, because I don't have many superpowers, but what I tend to be pretty good at is being able to identify smart people and knowing when to listen to them. And smarter than I, yes, I knew you're going to take credit. Hence our marriage, yes. It's very, very much so. You're a prime example of that, baby. But that is something that as I look back, I have been pretty good at. And because for whatever reason, I don't ever care. My desire is never to be the smartest person in the room, but I want to be in the room with the smartest person, because that's leverage. So having said all of that, though, buying the hood, why that it's a gold mine, because while there's a certain sector of the world that thinks, that's not valuable, we'll bring it real life. So we were in New York. We were there for a conference that you were presenting at 2 years ago, I think. Was it last? It may have been last year, actually. Last year. Or, well, now it's 2 years ago. It was 2019. So, and we both love New York. So we stay in Manhattan, but we take a trip over to Brooklyn, and we go to Bed-Stuy, Biggie's old neighborhood, which, for those of you who are in the hip hop or you love Biggie, you just know. He, in a lot of his early raps, he talks about where he's from and knowing that, what Bed-Stuy was the hood. And to
Gentrification.
see, yes, and to see it now, even when we went to visit, they have a mural of him there in Brooklyn. However, what's around there doesn't look anything like where he grew up in. And one of the, in fact, fun fact is the very place he rapped about in Juicy, where he talked about rapping outside of his apartment building. That very apartment rents for $4,000 a month today. So buying the hood, and gentrification has been one of those terms that now has come about, and it's more well known in our lexicon, and now it has starting to have some negative attributes to it. And what happens with gentrification, though, is because, and why I say the hood's a gold mine, maybe because what are some of the basic foundational attributes of what we loosely refer to as the hood? Yep, it's near public transportation, it's near highways, infrastructure.
If I think about where we grew up, Marcus, we could walk to the lake, like we could walk to Rainbow Beach.
Yeah, we could walk pretty much. Yeah, we pretty much did. Yep. Yeah, we pretty much did. And if you live, yeah, yeah, and if you live in Chicago where we are, even on the south side, you have access to, as you're walking through these neighborhoods, you have parks and trails, bike trails and things like that. Those are all things that have value to them. And because all markets are cyclical, eventually, what that old saying, what's one man's trash is another man or woman's treasure.
So should the working class people be buying a hood?
Yes, because
can they buy the hood? Like, I think people also have this sense, and I know even when I was growing up and we lived for a good portion of my life in an apartment building, thinking like, how do people afford that? How do people do that? And like the idea that was absent of what we could do.
Yep. And I'm a huge believer in it's okay to question, just asking the question in the right way. So what helped me switch my mentality was not how do people do that? How can I do that? Because if you put the right question out into the ethos, into the universe, you'll get the right answer back. So not, hey, how does someone have a successful marriage, or how does someone have a successful business? How do I? How do I? And that comes back to that ownership piece, right? And so with that,
well, how do they? How does a person say, I'm working in the cafeteria of my kid's school and I'm not making a lot of money, and I don't think I've lived in an apartment building my whole life and I've invested for someone else.
Yep.
How do I overcome all of that to purchase something myself?
Well, the first step is to move past ask yourself, okay, am I allowing anyone else's perception or even my own perception or trauma to keep me from taking the first step, which is to acquire information? Like, okay, and so it goes back to that question. So how do I, let's say you work in a cafeteria, let's say you live in the hood and you have a great paying job, you're a social worker, or whatever the case may be, you work at a university. However, because of your family situation and what you've seen and the trauma associated with real estate in your family, you haven't gone beyond just, hey, okay, I'm going to live in this apartment or live wherever with my family. The first step is to get information. So, when I was looking to, when I allowed the limiting belief of, hey, the stock market is risky, you can't make money in the stock market. Well, when I allowed that to be my stopping point, we didn't invest in the stock market. Well, once I said, okay, wait a minute, let me look at this, because I'm starting to see people who have retired and retired early and live well off the stock market. And going back to real estate, that even people in the stock market, the majority of people who are wealthy, whatever wealth looks like to you as an individual, but what I found is the people who, whether they've been clients of mine or just knowing friends and family members, the people who have invested in real estate and have done it in a way where they've educated themselves, have done well in life, even during downturns. We've had family members I've talked to that said there were business owners and they said, hey, what got me through the last recession was my real estate property, my income property. So if you're that cafeteria worker, let's say, the first step is call somebody. And I would always start with a real estate, find somebody who, whether it's somebody in your circle or somebody you can access online.
Find you. Find Marcus.
Find me. Yeah.
Call Marcus.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, call me and say, okay, Marcus, how do I do this? Here's my situation. Here's what I want to do. And then I always come from the perspective of educating. I'm never going to tell you you can't do something. If we say, okay, here's how we do it. And if I don't know the answer to one of your questions, because my whole goal is to put myself in the room with the smartest people, I always know where to go to find the answer. So with that, okay, this is how you do A, B, and C to get yourself into a property that, and so then we have a real conversation about, okay, and this is something I ask my clients, especially first-time buyers. Okay, I understand your hopes about this, but what are your concerns about this? What are your real fears? And let's walk through that. Because until we adequately address those, you're really not gonna jump in with both feet.
So you are, in the next 9 years, you're gonna have 50 streams of income.
Well, hold on. No, you're not setting me up. You're not setting me up. I don't have anything. We will have 50 streams.
We're going to have 50 streams.
Yeah. Even if I did most of the work for them, what I have learned sometimes the hard way is that I don't have anything that's just mine.
Good. You're learning. All right. So we're going to have 50 streams of income, and so that's like, and one of your goals this year is to have 4 additional streams. But and that's great. I think
passive streams of income.
Passive income.
And to clarify that, those so what I was asked on yesterday's 2 days ago, the podcast I was on 2 days ago. Well, 50. So how do you have 50 passive streams of income? No. So if I'm in this stock and it's a dividend paying stock, that's 1. If I'm in another dividend paying stock, that's 2. Investment properties 1 through 20, that's 20. If we have this business operating, and by the way, you guys, a business is something at a certain point, you have the difference between a job and a business. A job is something where you only get paid if you're physically there and working it, or if somebody gives you the permission to be away only for a certain period of time, but you have to come back to continue getting that paycheck. A business is something that will pay you regardless of whether you're there in another country on the beach physically or not. It pays you regardless. So, and then some of those passive streams of income will be businesses as well.
And your book, right?
Yep, book, which will be coming out this year.
All right. Yep. So those are streams, those are investments. But one of the things that I love most about you, Marcus, is that you love, and one of your superpowers is helping people.
Right.
And I hear you often mentoring our children, mentoring your colleagues. You've helped me to grow my own consulting business and been a mentor to me in that way. So you really do just invest a lot in others. How do you invest in yourself, and why is that important to do?
Man, yeah, that's a good question. I'm always the funny thing is the joke in our family is that I don't like to read because books. I'm a slow reader. However, I'm always consuming information. So thank God for technology and Audible. Audible is my boo. So I have to have probably about a good 25 to 30 books downloaded into Audible right now. Excuse me. Um, so I'm always reading, and I'm always. You talked earlier about YouTube. Um, the beauty of a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing that I would have other people do, is because I do them, and YouTube is my university now. Now, just like anything, you have to be very strategic and selective about who you take information from. But I'm always trying to learn, and I have this saying that I don't lose in life, and I truly believe I don't lose in life because either I win or I learn a lesson from it. So that's what I do. That working out, which any of my fitness homies that see this, they're gonna give me crap for because they were actually just getting on me today about not coming to not being out to work out as much, but with COVID,
I'll take responsibility for that because I've been on you about not being in spaces with a lot of people. So everybody, all y'all boot camps, lay off my boo because I have been telling him that he needs to not be in spaces with a lot of people working.
Yeah. So we just had to, and that's been a challenge to kind of stay fit. And I know I'm not alone in that. The one of the jokes last year was people gaining the COVID-19, and no, so it's been real. But again, first world problems. First world problems. So I do that though. When all things being equal, working out. When we travel, I always try to get us to get out where we're getting, like some fresh air and getting our bodies moving. And then I think mentoring, because when you teach, being a teacher, one of the selfish reasons to be a great teacher is because you end up learning the most.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the most rewarding aspects of it, and I think that's why I get such a high off of the people in my sphere winning, because I know, one of the terms that you've been throwing out a lot lately, which I've been a long time believer in. The first person I heard it from was John Maxwell, is a rising tide lifts all boats. So
I've seen
yeah, but
what does the future hold for you?
Building through other people. I don't want another job in my lifetime. I don't. And I'm saying it like that with a pregnant pause because that's something probably over the course of the last year or so, I've given myself permission to just say out loud. I don't want any more jobs. I want businesses. I want to build through people. I want passive income. That way, I'm a big believer in sabbaticals. I think we're so engaged with everything. The other morning when I got up out of the bed and you told me, what do you remember what you told me? First thing I did?
On your phone?
Yep. You said, put your phone down. Why did you grab your phone? But we're so connected to it, everything. So that's the gift and the curse of the information age. It's information available at the snap of a finger, but there's information available at the snap of a finger. And because it's so readily accessible, are we getting true information that feeds us? When we talk about even, politically, like the misinformation campaigns, because things are so easy to access, people are ready to just take them and run with them. It's just like food. If you got a bunch of fast food places around you, you can eat a lot and you can eat for cheap, but are you eating well?
I love that you talked about the sabbatical and I really want people to if people get anything out of this, it's yeah, you tighten up your finances in 2021, invest in something that's passive, own something that's gonna pay you, but also invest in yourself and invest in relationships. And I love, you were always talking about, Marcus, that like the time is something you can't get back. And so that idea of the sabbatical really, you said it, but if you go, I'm going too, because I love that. I think I was talking a bit earlier before you joined that I was a little nervous about 2021 because how 2020 was horrific in so many respects. But there were things that I gained. I gained time and I gained rest and I gained business. And so that is to go back into the hustle and bustle and all of that is a bit scary to me because what a lot of us found is that we weren't living balanced lives, that we were off balance. And so investing that time in yourself and investing that time in your relationships is really, really important. And that doesn't mean that everything is smooth sailing. We talked the other day just about how sometimes when you get knowledge, you find that you're not in the right place. Like you're not in the right relationship. You're not you're not where you're supposed to be. That's aligned to your destiny. But getting to the point where you can be in a quiet space and understand that, get there. But it takes investing in yourself. You're worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah. A quick question: are you interviewing me or am I interviewing you?
Okay. All right.
Well, I did want to jump in though real quick. You talked about time. So think about all the people who have been impacted in some serious ways from COVID. As much as it absolutely just like bothers me that I can't be with my peeps working out the way I want to. In the grand scheme of things, like you said, I think you're basically alluding to this. That's like, what are we talking about, really? But people who, we're hearing stories of people who couldn't be in the same room with their parents as they're passing because of COVID. People who can't, get married and have their parents see them get married because of COVID. Refrigeration trucks lined up outside of hospitals to hold bodies because of COVID. So time, man, like, listen, if I were to impress anything upon people who were within earshot of this, make great use of your time. And whatever it is you're thinking about doing to start to, like Keisha said, invest in yourself. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't work, it's okay. It's okay.
Right?
Own it. Yeah, own it. It's okay. All of your favorites, all your faves, whether it's people or businesses, have some stories of failure before they really hit true pay dirt.
And that doesn't matter what walk of life you're in.
Yep. So, what age, what demographic. Yep. I can give you can throw out any age, any demographic, any gender, whatever the case may be, and I can give you a story of somebody who probably hit rock bottom and worked their way out of it. And then you mentioned, the other thing you mentioned is people didn't have balance in their lives. And one of the terms I hear that I think is kind of a misnomer is work-life balance. And you actually were starting to describe it in the proper way, but I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in life. And so there's going to be certain periods in your life where you're working to build your business, build your brand, whatever the case may be. Keisha, you've done a great job over the past couple of years of just putting your head down to build your brand and business. And what that may look like at certain times is, okay, maybe I'm not spending as much time with the kids. And you and I are blessed that our kids are older. So we had this, but now what I started to do is, okay, what about the quality of time that I'm giving the kids though? So if I'm building something and it's building something that's going to give us as a family some freedom down the road, give us access to things that are going to better our lives and our lifestyle, then okay, maybe I can't be here, and here with you as much. However, maybe this time when you're free, Marcus Jr., and I have to go drive to a listing to do A, B, and C, you come in with me, because that's time we have together. But that's also me teaching you and showing you how the sausage is made, you know?
And I was going to say, it's about communication too, right? Because the
Yep.
kids understand, and you as a spouse understand what my goals and dreams are. And I understand what you're like when you decided, hey, I'm leaving corporate America, I want to go into real estate. And we communicated that, and like, okay, this means that there are going to be some times I'm not available to cook dinner. And Mark does most of the cooking. So that was like, what?
She was protesting, y'all. She was protesting.
So he's not gonna be able to cook dinner. And that was communicative. And then I wanted to also just like give you a little grace, because you really didn't miss any of Marcus's volleyball games. Like, you were there. We were at badminton tournaments and golf tournaments.
Yeah.
So,
but now, to your point though, when I was starting my real estate business, it was when Kayla was getting out of high school, going into college. There were some of her golf tournaments you were at. There were some of Katie's badminton tournaments you were at that I couldn't go to because I was building a business. And then as you started to really put yourself out there and build your brand event, there were some of Marcus's volleyball games and going on college visits where, as bad as you felt, but this is how a team works though. And that's what a marriage is a team, is that, you know, if a man can go out and work hard to build a business, you know, then the woman can too. And you shouldn't have to feel any more guilty about that because you're the mom versus I'm the dad. And so that, like you said, goes back to the communication piece of it, and just making sure though that those expectations have been set. And we learned that through some trial and error through marriage. It's okay, you know, what is your expectation of me in this? And are we on the same page?
So at 8:00, what does your phone say?
Keisha time.
Keisha time. So yep. Because that's one of my love languages, right? And I need that. So while I understand that you are building your business, and even if it's just 30 minutes, that's something that's important to me. Even if it's just like putzing around like while you're cooking or while I'm cooking, because I do cook sometimes, or watching TV. That's just important. And when I'm busy, and I know I can get a little tunnel vision, so I'm not as good about this as you are, but when I'm busy and kind of in consulting mode and work mode, making sure that I take time to serve you too.
Yeah, and going inside, because the hard part is to look inside, because you know we've had our, you know, what do I call them, some intense moments of fellowship, where we butt heads, and because one of your superpowers is once you get focused on something, you are like a horse with blinders on. You can block out everything. The kids know not to bother you and everything. And instead of me being resentful of that, and so what I'd say, okay, how can I get what I need from you without making you feel like you're giving up on your dreams? So for me, you know, that's where me coming apart and mentoring you in some ways and saying, okay, nope, you're worth this. This is how we negotiate this particular contract. And so sometimes that's that work-life balance, because when you're focused on building your brand, you may not have 2 hours for me at that point, but how do we make the most of the time that we have?
Yeah, Marcus is my business manager, y'all. I'm not good with negotiating contracts. So Marcus is always the person behind the scenes saying this is what you're worth. And I'm usually the person saying, no, that's too much. You can't charge that. And he's usually like, charge more than, and pushing me to that point of being uncomfortable, which is really good for me because it's helped me to see. So when companies come back and say, oh yeah, we'll pay that, I'm like, oh wow, I would have taken half of that. And Marcus has conditioned me to something different. So, all right, well, an hour and a half with Keisha and Marcus. How do you think the people feel about an hour and a half with us?
Ooh, I know how our kids feel.
I know. Yeah. And I'm sure they're like, oh my God, nobody's watching. Kayla might be watching, but no. Katie and Marcus, clearly not.
Yeah.
All right, final questions for you. My kind of wrap-up questions for everyone. And I have a few new ones that you will be my guinea pig with for 2021. So what's something that you want to learn in 2021?
Something I want to learn in 2021. How to better delegate and let go. A lot of times, one of the big fallbacks of being an entrepreneur or being business minded is, and this is an ongoing process. And any of my colleagues that may be seeing this, and you have direct knowledge or experience dealing with my lack of do not say a damn word. Keep your thoughts and opinions to yourselves. But what ends up happening is, a lot of times, and my mom was big at this when we were growing up. She'll say, I'll just do it, because you feel like nobody's going to do it as better as you can. Well, the trap in that is, yes, there is somebody who can do it better than you can. 1, 2, you end up draining yourself because you can only do so much. And 3, you don't allow others the opportunity to grow around you.
Well, what our last intense fellowship was about just that, right?
Yep, and you challenged me. Yep, and you challenged me on it because it's so easy to revert back to, well, okay, I've done this 400 times. I can just do it this 401st time, and then I'll delegate it.
So Kayla, our daughter, is joining Marcus in the real estate world, and he has been mentoring her. But he was still just doing so much. Like, he wasn't allowing her, he wasn't giving her the stuff that she needed. He's like, I'll just do it. I'm like, no, Kayla's a boss, bae. So she can all of them, really.
Mm-hmm. So okay, keep going. You're not gonna make me get emotional on this.
I seriously am. Like, they are they are all truly amazing kids, and
they can be pains in the you all pain, entitlement, whatever you can think of dealing with a kid, you deal with. But however, they by and large,
they exceed anything that we could have ever thought or dreamed of for them. So anyway, Kayla is joining Marcus's team in real estate and some admin work. So I just told him, hey, you gotta use her. There's no reason for you to be up till 1:00 at night doing work when you have super anal administrator who could be doing some stuff for you. Love her to death. And that's her superpower, being detail oriented and being able to make sure that things get done. So so I know, I'm glad to hear you say that that's one of the things that you want to learn in 2021. And what's something you want to unlearn?
That you have to grind in life in order to get what you want. I want to unlearn that. We're in this mindset, and that doesn't mean you work hard. No, there's a difference between working hard and grinding. And maybe, here's the thing, maybe if grinding is one of your love languages, or that's what feeds you, then if that's your thing, fine. But what I found for people who really, we sometimes look at people And you're like, okay, how are they involved in all these businesses? How are they going to all these events and doing this and doing that? And still, and not looking fried at the end of the day when I got 7 things on my plate and I could barely take time to get something to eat. And there's a difference between, I want more of working smarter than harder, because if I could find efficiencies, those efficiencies can get me way more, way farther, for not just for me, but for my clients, for the people in my organizations. They can get me a lot farther. One of the worst things to do, and if you've been on, most of us have been on a job before where you just see you're working hard, but you don't see where it's going. And yet you see somebody else who's not working as hard as you are, but they either getting the same that you are or more. That person,
you're working harder, you get more work.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's this falsehood that, you get out totally what you put in. That's not always true. I think you do get out what you put in, but you can also be strategic about it and planned about it. You can get that out and then some. So that's what I'm unlearning.
Okay. And what are you listening to on Audible, since you clearly told us that you're Audible guy? What are you reading and listening to right now? Or what do you suggest that I know you told us The Color of Blonde. I think it's Rothstein.
Rothstein is his last name. I can't think of his first name.
Not Roth. So,
Rothstein? No, it is Ron. Yeah, I think it is Ron Rothstein. Roth. Okay. You're not gonna catch me up and butchering this man's name.
Okay.
His last name, what we do know for sure is his last name is Rothstein.
Okay.
Color of Law, which is gonna be easy for you to find. The 12-week year is something that I've read before and I'm reading again now. That's the other thing too. So many times we're looking, okay, what's the next thing to read? What's the next thing to read? Some things we need to put on repeat.
Yeah, that's good, Mark.
Some things we just need to put on repeat. And then another book that I'm about to go into again is The Compound Effect. That's a really good book. It's just talks about how we always think progress not only is linear, but we want to progress in these huge chunks. Like, oh, no, I used to be able to run a 5K in 35 minutes. And now, next year I want to be down to 25 minutes. Instead of, understanding the steps involved in making progress. And eventually, if you accept and you plan out those steps the right way, you actually will accelerate the time frame in which you'll improve. So and you can apply that mindset to health, investing, whatever the case may be. So did I say the 12-week year?
You did.
Yeah, I did say that. Okay. Yeah.
That was right here. It's Richard.
See,
so everybody who's been so that's the 12-week year.
12-week year. Yeah.
So everybody who's been yelling at the screen, Richard.
Right. But that's on you. I can't see the screen. So.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm pontificating.
Oh, you're just saying if they are. Okay.
I'm sure the people are. What was the last song you downloaded?
Ooh, that's a good. I love music. Oh. Last song I downloaded. So I listen to so much. Oh, I would have to go to my my title to see what it is, but
what do you have on repeat?
Oh yeah, you all really want to know. So what I have on repeat now, you know how much I love me some Jay-Z. I'm a huge Drake fan. Kendrick Lamar have a DNA.
Really?
That's like one of my I love that song. I'm a huge City Girls fan too, which I am a huge. I'm a City Girls. Listen, I love people.
I know.
Yeah, if
You
or if
actually tell them I know, but they don't know. So
yeah,
why are
yeah.
you? What is it about the city girls?
I just love people who own who they are and don't try to pretend to be something they're not, and they do it, and it's well produced too. So I know some church friends, for church folks, don't y'all go look up the City Girls. This is not, yeah, don't go look that up. But I am
Pastor Marcus talking about the City Girls. We got it on
listen,
video, y'all.
listen.
We got it. All
It
right.
is what it is.
What's favorite day of the week?
Monday.
Why?
It's and I know I got on your nerves for a while until you got used to it, but it's most of us don't look forward to Monday because we're doing things either that we don't want to do and we haven't planned a way out of that. And Mondays for me always is symbolic of a fresh start. And yeah, so that's the short answer.
Favorite city in the U.S. besides Chicago? And you could go world because I know you have a world preference.
Yeah, world-wise, it's going to probably be Paris.
Tell the people why.
Although Barcelona is a close second for where we've been anyway.
You've always said Paris.
Okay. Yeah, I always say Paris. So being a foodie, being a bit bougie, but I've never felt freer as a person than I have in Paris, especially as a Black person. I never felt freer than in Paris. Yeah. And listen, every city in every country is going to have their issues, but it's something about that lifestyle. And like I said, Barcelona is probably a close second in the world. In the US, San Diego, if you force me to choose. San Diego, just because.
In my back pocket. I'm putting that in my back pocket. You said San Diego.
But maybe not to live though. Where if we had to move tomorrow, where I'd move to.
I do. Tell the people where you would move to tomorrow.
Arizona, Phoenix area. It's just something about.
Shout out Mark and Michelle.
Yep. Shout out Mark and Michelle. It's just something whenever we go there, when I get there, I just feel like I'm home. And we don't even have any family, I don't believe, that lives there.
I have family there, but you don't have any family there.
Yeah, I don't have any family there that lives there. But whenever I go there, it just feels like, like, okay, home. And so
I tell y'all why it feels like home for him. One of his favorite barbecue spots in the whole world is in Phoenix, and so we can't. The wheels don't land on the airplane good before we are headed to Little Miss in Phoenix to get him some barbecue.
And because we've already probably gone way too long, I won't get into the story of how I almost didn't find out about Little Miss because a certain miss was trying to keep me from interrogating our Uber driver one time when we were there. So
yes, that's because every city you go to, you do not have to get barbecue. Although I'm going to stop there because then you'll say that now I've become you, and I have to a certain extent. So now because of your obsession with barbecue, it's filtered on to me as well. All right, next question. What age do you want to retire?
Oh, I think we already talked about it. That's a tricky question, but retire 55. Our current societal version idea of retirement is a total man-made thing. If you look way back in history or read the Bible, whatever faith you are, you don't hear any references to, when this person said they were going to retire at this age. However, what I think retirement represents when I no longer have to work because I have to. Now I get to work because I want to. And so that's 55 for me.
Okay. What's your hope for the world?
Kindness, man. Kindness, empathy and kindness. Simple. I think that'll solve a lot of our problems. And it's, kindness is a strength. It's not a weakness. There's don't take my kindness for weakness, which is true, but kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. You know, especially we've noticed during the pandemic, especially that people tend to be a lot more on edge. You know, whether it's, you know, driving more aggressively, so on and so forth. Man, just be kind. You know, now that doesn't mean you have to take crap off of people. Just be kind. Just be empathize with people, because you never know what somebody's going through, regardless of what they look like, sound like, where they're from. So
good about that. Where I'm learning. You're good about being empathetic and kind to everyone. Where do we go from here? And we're talking about investing and owning things. What are the next steps for people?
For people, period.
Yep. Society. What's next?
I think we have to, for people, period. We have to own ourselves. So we're so constantly looking at everybody else. So one of the things that really just really is a pet peeve of mine is how much power we give to politicians in this country. And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, we're all guilty of it. All guilty of it. We treat political parties as if we're rooting for teams. And what that does is that eliminates people. Because guess what? You know, right now, if you turn on any news channel, you see about people in DC going back and forth about whether people in this country who have been suffering for almost a year now, whether they should get $600 or $2,000. Meanwhile, if you look up the percentage of them that are wealthy, that's not going to impact them at all. So, exactly. So where I'm going with it, and I'm not saying politics don't matter, because they matter significantly. And I think if you're being real with yourself, you can see that over the past few years, how significantly politics matter. Just that if we change our expectation, then what's happening in DC will change. But right now, the tail is wagging the dog. So I think people need to, instead of us stepping on our sides of the fence based off of our political alignment, we have way more in common than we do uncommon. If people truly focus on what we have in common, you would root out a lot of the corruption and a lot of the greed in DC, and the people could truly get what they need from government. And having said that, I'm a huge believer in, regardless of who is in power in DC and what party's in power, there are so many resources. You first have to empower yourself and be the president or senator or congressperson of your life first. So
that's good. That's really good. And then how can people reach out to you if they want to know more about investing, or if they want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate themselves?
You can reach me at Property Pro 74. That's my tag on most social media outlets, at Property Pro 74. You can also email me at marcus@rbpropertygroup.com. That's Marcus at Rembert, R like Rembert, B like Blount, propertygroup.com.
Okay. Well, thank you, Marcus, honey, for being my first guest of 2021 and dropping such valuable nuggets on us. We appreciate your time, and I thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for putting up with my little technical gaffe at the beginning, and so proud of you. Hope your viewers continue to tune in, because you guys, this lady is doing some phenomenal stuff. She has just scratched the surface. Congratulations on being on your state appointment and recent state appointment, and just looking forward to bigger and better things for you this year and beyond.
When those 50 streams of income come through, I'm out, y'all.
She's not out. She can't help herself. She's got to be involved in something. So.
I'm not out. Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you again. And again, reach out to Marcus on those platforms if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or if you just need a mentor, because he is darn good at that.
Appreciate it. Look out for my book coming up this year. I won't tell you guys the title yet because I haven't solidified it yet, but it's going to be about leverage and negotiating. All right.